Doctor discovers sabotage at community clinic, but the true identity of her greatest ally is revealed, completely changing everyone's fate. The cold wind cut like knives, weaving through the deserted streets and echoing between the tall buildings downtown. The neon lights flickered intermittently, casting dancing shadows on the old brick walls. Dr. Emily Carter, a young doctor with light brown hair tied in a messy bun, hurried home after an exhausting shift at the hospital. Her boots echoed against the wet pavement, and her thick coat barely kept the intense night cold at bay. As she crossed a narrow alley to shorten the way home, her tired eyes caught a sudden movement in the corner. Under the dim light of a broken lamp, a man was lying down, groaning in pain. He was dirty, with torn clothes and blood running down his bearded face. Emily cautiously approached, her senses alert, but her instinct as a doctor prevailed. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, her voice firm but gentle. The man lifted his head with difficulty, revealing a desperate look. His brown eyes met hers, and for a moment, she saw more than just physical pain. There was a suffering soul and a life marked by adversity. "Please, help me," he whispered, his voice hoarse and broken. Emily knelt beside him without hesitation. "My name is Emily. I'm a doctor. I'll take you to the hospital," she said, quickly beginning to examine his wounds. He nodded, visibly relieved. "What's your name?" "Jack. Jack Thompson," he replied, pain evident in every word. Emily looked around, searching for help, but the alley was empty. With renewed determination, she supported Jack on her shoulder and, with effort, helped him stand up. Arriving at the hospital, the environment was as chaotic as ever. Nurses and doctors running back and forth, patients on stretchers waiting for care, and the constant sound of heart monitors filling the air. Emily, with Jack still leaning on her shoulder, headed straight for the emergency room. However, as she crossed the door, she was immediately intercepted by Dr. Miller, the department head, a middle-aged man with gray hair and a severe expression. "Emily, what's going on here?" he asked, his voice loaded with authority and disdain. His eyes narrowed as he saw Jack, who looked like a homeless person. "This is Jack Thompson. He's seriously injured and needs immediate care," Emily replied, trying to stay calm. Dr. Miller shook his head negatively. "We don't have the resources to waste on people like him. This kind of person doesn't deserve our time or effort." Emily felt the anger boiling inside her. "Every life matters, Dr. Miller. I won't let him die from lack of care." He crossed his arms, a cold smile curving his lips. "If you insist on treating this man, you will be disobeying direct orders. And you know the consequences of that." Without hesitation, Emily shook Jack's hand. "I'm willing to take the risk." With the help of a friendly nurse, Emily managed to take Jack to an empty surgery room. The environment was small and dimly lit, with medical instruments neatly arranged on stainless steel shelves. The air was impregnated with the smell of disinfectant. "Let's start," she murmured to herself as she prepared Jack for surgery. Her heart was beating fast, not just because of the responsibility of the operation, but also out of fear of the consequences she would face. The surgery began, and time seemed to stand still. The rhythmic sound of Jack's heart monitor was the only thing breaking the silence in the room. Emily worked with precision and calm, each movement measured and careful. The concentration on her face was visible, a mask of determination. Her eyes, however, revealed the tension and worry. After hours of exhausting work, the surgery finally ended. Jack was stable, breathing more easily. Emily wiped the sweat from her forehead and smiled at the nurse, relieved. "We did it," she said, her voice laden with emotion. The nurse smiled back, sharing the feeling of victory. However, before they could celebrate, the door of the surgery room burst open. Dr. Miller entered, his face contorted in an expression of fury. "What do you think you are doing?" he shouted, his voice echoing through the room. Emily stood up, facing him. "I saved a life, Dr. Miller," she replied, her voice firm. "Jack was dying, and I did what was right." "You're fired," he growled, pointing to the door. "Leave the hospital immediately. We don't have a place for disobedient people here." Emily felt the ground open up beneath her feet. Desolation hit her hard, but looking at Jack, who was now breathing peacefully. She knew she had made the right choice. With her head held high, she left the room, feeling the weight of an uncertain future on her shoulders. Emily walked along the sidewalk, the cold night wind bringing with it a feeling of despair and loneliness. The city lights twinkled in the distance, but they seemed further away than ever. Each step was heavy, reflecting the anguish in her heart. Her hands trembled slightly, the adrenaline from the surgery still running through her veins. She thought of her mother, at home, waiting for her. The elderly, frail, and dependent mother. Emily had always been the pillar of the family, and now, without her job, she felt everything was falling apart. She sat on a nearby park bench, her breathing irregular. Hot tears began to run down her cold face. "How am I going to take care of Mom now?" she whispered to herself, her voice choked with emotion. Doubt and fear were overwhelming, but deep down, she knew she needed to move on. She needed to find a way to overcome this difficult moment. Back in her small apartment, Emily struggled to maintain her composure. Her mother, with gray hair and tired eyes, was sitting in a wheelchair, looking out the window. "Emily, dear, are you okay?" her mother asked, her voice soft and concerned. Emily forced a smile. "I'm fine, Mom. Just a bit tired, but I'll be okay." Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Emily frowned, surprised to receive a visit at that hour. When she opened the door, she found Jack, looking much better, standing there. He was holding a simple bouquet of flowers, but the gesture was touching. "Emily, I didn't know where else to go," he began, his voice timid and grateful. "I needed to thank you for everything you did for me." Emily smiled, genuinely touched. "You didn't need to, Jack. I just did what anyone would do." He shook his head. "No, you did more than that. And I want to help you, the same way you helped me." Emily's surprise was evident. "What do you mean?" Jack took a deep breath. "I'm not just a lost man. I'm a philanthropist, and I have resources. I want to help you rebuild your life. I want to help you help others." Emily's heart raced. The possibility of a new beginning, of a new opportunity, began to take shape in her mind. I don't know what to say," she murmured, moved. "Then don't say anything," Jack replied, smiling. "Let's start over. Together." Emily walked through the dark city streets, her heart heavy with the weight of her recent dismissal. Each step seemed to echo her anguish, blending with the distant sounds of the city that never sleeps. The modest apartment she shared with her elderly mother was just a few blocks away, but the walk seemed endless on that cold night. When she finally reached her building's door, she paused for a moment, taking a deep breath to calm her nerves. She climbed the stairs carefully, trying not to make noise to avoid waking her mother. Upon entering the apartment, she was greeted by the welcoming silence, broken only by her mother's light snoring from the next room. Emily quietly made her way to the kitchen, where she grabbed a glass of water and sat at the table, looking at the small framed family photos. A solitary tear rolled down her face as she thought about the uncertain future. Her job was her passion, but also her livelihood. How could she continue to care for her mother without it? However, she didn't have much time to lament. She heard a sound coming from her mother's room and quickly got up to go there. Her mother, a woman with gray hair and eyes full of wisdom, was awake, looking at her with concern. "Emily, dear, are you okay?" she asked, her voice soft and full of affection. Emily forced a smile, trying to hide the pain. "I'm fine, Mom. It was just a tough day at work." Her mother frowned, noticing the tension in her daughter's voice. "You know you can tell me anything, right?" Emily sighed, feeling the weight of the situation. "I got fired today, Mom, and I don't know what we're going to do." Emily's mother took her hand, squeezing it tightly. "We'll get through this together. You've always been strong and brave, and I believe in you." The next day, while Emily tried to compose herself and think about her next steps, she heard a knock on the door. Upon opening it, she found Jack, the man she had saved, standing there with a warm smile and a grateful gleam in his eyes. He was well-dressed, with a posture that now revealed his true nature. "May I come in?" he asked, his voice full of kindness. Emily nodded, surprised, and invited him in. He sat on the small living room couch, observing the cozy and modest environment. "Emily, I didn't know where else to go. After what you did for me, I needed to give back somehow." She looked at him, curious. "You don't need to give back anything, Jack. I was just doing my job." Jack shook his head, a sad smile on his lips. "You did more than your job. You risked your career for me, and I can't let that go unnoticed. I need to help you." Emily was about to respond when her mother entered the room, moving slowly with the help of a walker. "Who is our visitor, Emily?" she asked, her eyes shining with curiosity. "This is Jack, Mom. The man I helped at the hospital," Emily replied, making the introductions. Jack immediately stood up, holding Emily's mother's hand with respect. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Carter. Your daughter is a heroine." Emily's mother smiled, visibly delighted. Any friend of Emily's is welcome here. After a few minutes of conversation, Jack turned back to Emily. "I'm not just a man in need, Emily. I'm a philanthropist, and I have the means to help you rebuild your life. I want you to think of it as a partnership." Emily was astonished. "What do you mean, Jack?" He smiled. "I want to help you open a community clinic, a place where you can continue to do good, helping those who need it most, without the restrictions and bureaucracy of a hospital. I have the resources and contacts to make it happen." Emily's heart raced. The idea of a community clinic was a dream she barely allowed herself to have. But how would that be possible? And what if it doesn't work? Jack looked her in the eyes, confidence radiating from his expression. "It will work because you're amazing at what you do, and I'll be by your side, helping every step of the way. What do you say?" Emily looked at her mother, who gave her an encouraging look. Then she turned back to Jack. I don't know what to say. This is more than I could imagine." "Then say yes," Jack replied, smiling. "Let's do this together." In the following days, Emily and Jack began planning the community clinic. Jack brought a series of contacts and resources, while Emily outlined the types of medical services they could offer to the community. Their nights were filled with meetings, discussions, and a growing enthusiasm for the project. They found a small abandoned building in the heart of the neighborhood that could be renovated. The place was in ruins, but Emily saw potential in every peeling wall and empty room. With Jack's support, she began to envision a vibrant and welcoming health center. "Do you think we can really transform this?" Emily asked one day, looking around the empty space. "Absolutely," Jack replied, confident. "With your passion and my support, we can turn this into something incredible." Beyond the work at the clinic, the friendship between Emily and Jack flourished. They spent hours talking about their lives, dreams, and fears. Jack revealed more about his past, explaining how he had lost everything in a failed business venture and decided to help others as a way of giving back to society. "I see a lot of myself in you," Jack said on a cold night, as they drank coffee in a small local diner. "The same determination, the same desire to make a difference. And that's why I believe so much in this project." Emily smiled, feeling a deep connection with Jack. "I believe too, and I'm grateful to have found you that night. Maybe, somehow, all this happened for a reason." Jack nodded, holding her hand for a moment. "I believe that too, and I can't wait to see what we'll accomplish together." Emily's determination strengthened with every step. Despite the uncertainties and challenges, she felt she was on the right path. The community clinic was not just an idea. It was becoming a mission, a greater purpose than she had ever imagined. And with Jack by her side, she knew they could achieve anything. As the work at the clinic progressed, Emily began to feel a new sense of hope and purpose. Each day brought new challenges, but also new victories. And the friendship with Jack, now cemented by mutual trust and respect, gave her the strength needed to move forward. It was a clear, sunny morning when Emily and Jack organized the first meeting with community members. The improvised space in a local community center was filled with plastic chairs, with people of all ages and backgrounds chatting excitedly. The atmosphere was charged with hope and curiosity. Emily, dressed in a blue blouse and jeans, looked around, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. Jack, by her side, gave reassuring pats on her shoulder. "You'll do great," he whispered, smiling. When everyone settled down, Emily stood up and walked to the center of the room. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice firm. "I am Dr. Emily Carter, And this is my friend and partner, Jack Thompson. We're here today to talk about a dream we have, the creation of a community clinic. The eyes of those present sparkled with interest. An elderly woman with gray hair and glasses raised her hand. "How is this going to work, doctor?" Emily smiled. "The idea is to offer accessible medical care to all of you, without the barriers that many face in hospitals. We want to hear your needs and adapt our services to better serve you." Jack added, "And we won't do this alone. We need the support and ideas of all of you to make this dream a reality." A young man wearing a cap and leather jacket, sitting at the back, stood up. "I lost my job and don't have health insurance. Does this mean I can also get help?" "Absolutely," Emily replied, her tone full of conviction. "No one will be left out." The meeting continued with more questions and suggestions. A single mother suggested a child vaccination program. A middle-aged man asked for rehabilitation services for drug addicts. Emily and Jack noted everything, their hearts pounding with the positive energy of the meeting. In the following weeks, Emily and Jack dedicated themselves to fundraising and planning the clinic. They spent entire days calling contacts, organizing events, and seeking donations. In a small improvised office in Emily's living room, the phone never stopped ringing, and the table was covered with papers and plans. "We need more medical equipment suppliers," said Emily, flipping through a catalog. "And we have to ensure that operational costs are sustainable." Jack agreed, while writing an email to a potential sponsor. "I talked to a friend who can help us with some equipment at cost price. And we got free advertising space in the local newspaper to promote our campaign." The first major fundraiser was a charity dinner in a community hall. The environment was decorated with festive lights and elegantly set tables. Emily, in a simple but elegant dress, greeted the guests with a warm smile, while Jack, in a well-tailored suit, moved among the attendees, chatting animatedly. On stage, a young local talent played the violin, creating a charming atmosphere. When the music stopped, Emily took the stage, grabbing the microphone. "Good evening, everyone. It is an honor to see so many people here tonight. This event is not just about raising funds, but also about uniting our community around a cause that benefits everyone." The night was a resounding success, with generous donations and promises of ongoing support. At the end of the event, Emily and Jack sat at a table, exhausted but happy. "We got a good start," said Emily, holding an envelope full of checks and promissory notes. "This is just the beginning," Jack replied, smiling. "We're going to build something incredible." During one of the planning meetings, Jack brought a surprise. "Emily, I want you to meet someone very special," he said, his eyes shining with enthusiasm. "This is my son, Alex." Alex was a young man in his 20s, tall, with dark brown hair and expressive eyes. He extended his hand to Emily, smiling. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Dr. Carter. My father talks a lot about you." Emily shook his hand, feeling an immediate connection. "Please call me Emily." "It's a pleasure to meet you too, Alex." Jack explained that Alex had studied management and was interested in helping with the clinic's administration. "He has great ideas and a young, innovative vision," said Jack, proud. During the meeting, Alex showed his expertise, suggesting marketing and financial organization strategies that impressed everyone. "We need a strong presence on social media to attract more volunteers and donors," he said, projecting slides from a presentation on his laptop. Emily was impressed not only by Alex's intelligence, but also by his passion and commitment. "Your ideas are fantastic, Alex. They will certainly be very useful." As the days passed, the interaction between Emily and Alex intensified. They spent hours discussing plans and strategies, their conversations flowing naturally. One night, while working late in the office, Emily looked at Alex and said, "You really care about this, don't you?" Alex smiled, his eyes shining. "Yes, Emily. I believe in what we're doing, and I believe in you." The connection between them was palpable, but Emily felt hesitation. She couldn't allow herself distractions, especially with so much at stake. However, every conversation and smile shared with Alex made her heart beat faster. On a cold night, while walking together after a meeting, Alex stopped and looked into Emily's eyes. "You know, since I started working here, I felt something different. Something that makes me want to be here every day." Emily felt her heart race. I feel that too, Alex. But I'm afraid. Afraid of being distracted from our main goal. Alex held her hand, his expression serious. I understand, Emily, and I respect that. But know that, regardless of anything, I'm here to support you and our project. The sparkle in Alex's eyes and the sincerity of his words comforted Emily. She knew that, with Jack and Alex by her side, the community clinic had every chance of becoming a thriving reality. Each step brought her closer to them and more determined to turn her dream into a beacon of hope for the entire community. The abandoned old factory where the community clinic was being built was already starting to transform. The peeling walls now boasted a new coat of white paint, and the sound of hammers and saws filled the air. Emily, dressed in jeans and a paint-stained t-shirt, was kneeling on the floor, helping to assemble one of the new hospital beds. Beside her, a robust-looking man with a tired air hammered with precision. "You know, Dr. Emily," he said, looking at her with a shy smile, "I never imagined that one day I would be helping to build a clinic." Emily smiled back, feeling more comfortable with him. "You're doing a great job, Robert, and you can call me Emily." Robert, a former homeless person who had now become a volunteer at the clinic, nodded. "Thank you, Emily. This clinic is giving me a second chance, just as many others will have." Robert's story was one of overcoming. He had lost everything due to addiction, but with determination and support, he managed to rebuild his life. Emily admired him deeply for that. "You are an inspiration to all of us, Robert. Thank you for being here." As they continued working, the environment was one of camaraderie. Volunteers and community members united around a common purpose, creating a sense of family and hope. On a rainy day, Emily was reviewing some documents in the small, improvised office of the clinic when she heard a soft knock on the door. Upon opening it, she found a young woman with a fragile appearance and a pale face, holding her pregnant belly. Her eyes were full of fear and uncertainty. "Hello, can I help you?" asked Emily with a welcoming smile. "My name is Carla," replied the young woman, her voice almost a whisper. "I heard you are helping people like me. I'm pregnant and I have no one." Emily quickly invited her in, offering her a chair and a glass of water. "Of course, Carla. We're here to help. Tell me your story." Carla began to speak, the words coming out slowly, interrupted by tears. She was alone, without family or friends to support her. The father of her baby had abandoned her when he learned of the pregnancy, and she was living on the streets, struggling to survive. Emily felt a pang in her heart. "You are no longer alone, Carla. We will take care of you and your baby. And I promise we will do everything we can to ensure you have a better life." In the following days, Emily and her team took care of Carla, providing her with shelter, food, and medical care. With each consultation, the young woman became more confident and hopeful. Emily and Carla developed a special bond, a relationship of mutual trust and support. As the clinic began to thrive, the relationship between Emily and Alex became more complex. They spent more and more time together, both working and in leisure moments. One day, after a long workday, they decided to take a break and walk to a nearby diner. Sitting at a corner table, with steaming cups of coffee in front of them, Emily watched Alex. He was talking about a new marketing campaign for the clinic, but she couldn't fully concentrate on his words. Her thoughts were confused, divided between her growing affection for him and the concern for her mission. "Emily, are you okay?" asked Alex, interrupting her thoughts. She smiled, but her eyes revealed the inner turmoil. "Yes, I'm just thinking about everything we've done. It's amazing to see how the clinic is growing, but sometimes I feel overwhelmed." Alex reached out and held her hand, the touch warm and comforting. "I understand, but remember, you're not alone. We're in this together." His touch made Emily's heart race, but also left her even more confused. She gently pulled her hand back, trying to hide her emotions. "Thank you, Alex. You've been a great support. I just need a little more time to understand all this." Alex nodded, respecting her space. "Of course, Emily. I'll be here whenever you need." As the months passed, the clinic began to gain recognition. The consultation rooms were always full, and the community became increasingly united around the project. Emily, Jack, and Alex led with passion and dedication, but new challenges always arose. One of these challenges came in the form of a young man named Marco. He showed up one day at the clinic, seeking help for his gravely ill mother. Marco was a young man with a somber look and defensive attitudes, the result of years living on the streets and dealing with violence. Emily received him with the same empathy and kindness she showed everyone. "Marco, we'll take care of your mother. You can also count on us for anything you need." At first, Marco was suspicious and reserved, but seeing the dedication and care Emily and her team gave his mother, he began to open up. Over time, Marco started to frequent the clinic, helping wherever he could and eventually becoming a volunteer. "You really changed my mother's life," Marco told Emily on a sunny day while they painted a wall together. "And mine too. I never thought I'd find a place where I felt safe and accepted." Emily smiled, feeling grateful for every little victory. "We're all here to help each other, Marco, and you're an important part of this community." The clinic was flourishing, but Emily knew there were still many challenges ahead. Each day brought new stories of hope, overcoming, and love. And with the friendship and support of Jack, Alex, and the entire community, she felt ready to face any obstacle. The bonds being formed there were stronger than any adversity. Emily looked at each face, each smile, and knew they were building something truly special. Something that not only changed lives, but also created a better future for everyone. The morning began with the golden sun shining through the community clinic's windows. Emily, now with the confident posture of a leader, walked through the freshly painted corridors, greeting patients and volunteers. The clinic was full of life, with children's laughter echoing from the waiting rooms and whispers of hope in the corners. At the center of it all, Emily coordinated operations with precision and compassion. "Marcos, can you help Mrs. Jones fill out these forms? And Carla, I need you to organize the new patient's files," she said, her voice calm but authoritative. Robert, the former homeless man who was now a constant figure at the clinic, approached her. "Emily, we received an anonymous donation of medications. It will help us a lot." She smiled, feeling a wave of gratitude. "That's wonderful, Robert. Let's make sure these medications get to those who need them most." The clinic was growing not only in terms of infrastructure, but also in spirit. There was a palpable sense of community. People who would never have met in other circumstances now united around a common goal, helping each other. During a team meeting, Emily spoke about new programs she wanted to implement. "We're launching a vaccination campaign for children next week, and I want to start a psychological support program for patients who need it," she announced, her voice full of determination. Alex, sitting beside her, nodded. "I can handle the logistics and marketing. We need to reach as many people as possible." Emily looked at him, admiring the passion with which he dedicated himself to the project. "Thank you, Alex. With you on the team, I know we'll succeed." The community event was a celebration of the clinic's progress. The neighborhood square was decorated with colorful flags and balloons, and the aroma of barbecue and sweets filled the air. Children ran around, laughing and playing, while adults chatted animatedly. Emily was at the center of the party, greeting everyone with a warm smile. "It's wonderful to see so many people here," she said to Jack, who was beside her, watching the scene with satisfaction. "This shows how much the clinic has impacted the community," replied Jack, his gaze full of pride. On the main stage, a local band started playing, and the music filled the air with a joyful vibe. Alex climbed onto the stage and grabbed the microphone. "Good afternoon, everyone. Today we're here to celebrate not only our clinic, but also the strength and unity of our community." The audience applauded and shouted in response. Emily felt a wave of emotion seeing how much they had accomplished together. "We have many new things to share with you," continued Alex. "And one of them is a special thank you to everyone who has supported us from the beginning." Emily climbed onto the stage, and Alex handed her the microphone. "Thank you, Alex. And thank you to all of you. Without the support of each one here, none of this would be possible. We're just getting started, and with your help, we'll continue to grow and help more people." After the speech, Emily stepped off the stage and was approached by several people, all wanting to share their stories and thanks. A young mother holding a baby approached her. "Dr. Emily, if it weren't for you in the clinic, I don't know what I would have done. You saved my son's life." Emily felt tears fill her eyes. "We're here for that. And seeing you well is the best reward." After the event, as the square began to empty, Emily and Alex decided to take a walk in the nearby park. The sun was setting, casting a golden light over the trees and creating a magical atmosphere. They walked side by side, the silence between them comfortable. "Today was amazing," said Emily, finally breaking the silence. "Seeing all those people, feeling their energy, it's everything I've always wanted." Alex looked at her, a soft smile on his lips. "You made it happen, Emily. Your vision, your determination. You are the soul of this clinic." She blushed slightly, looking away. "I didn't do it alone. You, Jack, all the volunteers. We all made this happen together." They reached a park bench and sat down, watching the sun disappear on the horizon. Alex turned to her, his eyes intense. "Emily, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot about us, about everything we've done together." Emily's heart raced. "I have too, Alex. You've been more than a colleague, more than a friend. But I'm afraid. Afraid that this could distract us from what's most important." Alex held her hand, their fingers intertwining. "I understand your fears, but I don't think our feelings would distract us. On the contrary, I think they would strengthen us. We're a team both inside and outside the clinic." Emily looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I feel that too, Alex. But we need to be careful. The clinic is our priority." Alex nodded, an understanding smile on his lips. "Then let's do this together, step by step. No rush, no pressure. What matters is that we're here for each other." The day began like any other at the community clinic, with patients arriving early, smiles and hopes filling the air. But something was different. An unusual number of people started appearing with similar symptoms: high fever, intense cough, and weakness. Emily, already alert, realized something was wrong. In the waiting room, the chairs were packed. Children were crying, and adults seemed exhausted and desperate. Emily headed to her small office and grabbed the phone. "Alex, we need to gather the whole team. Something is happening," she said, her voice tense. Alex arrived quickly, followed by Jack and the other volunteers. "We have a problem," said Emily, looking at everyone. "It seems an epidemic has hit the community. We need an immediate plan to deal with this." Jack, always calm under pressure, suggested, "We'll need more medical supplies and coordination with the local hospital. And we need a space to isolate infected patients." The urgency in Emily's voice was palpable. "Alex, can you handle the communication with the hospital and get more medications?" Robert, organize the triage at the entrance to separate severe cases. "Let's make this work." With the crisis underway, Emily knew she needed the local hospital, despite her complicated history with Dr. Miller. She entered the hospital, where the environment was also chaotic. Nurses were running, and doctors were overwhelmed. Dr. Miller was in the hallway, looking even more severe than before. "Emily, what are you doing here?" he asked, suspicion evident in his voice. "We need your help, Dr. Miller," she began, trying to stay calm. "An epidemic has hit our community, and we don't have enough resources at the clinic. We need to work together to contain this." He crossed his arms, studying her for a moment. "You know I have my reservations about your clinic, but public health is a priority. I'll send some supplies and a support team. But don't mess this up." Emily nodded, grateful but still tense. "Thank you, Dr. Miller. Many people's health depends on this." Back at the clinic, the supplies and team arrived quickly. Emily organized the resources efficiently, assigning tasks and ensuring each patient received the necessary treatment. The collaboration between the clinic and the hospital began to show results, but the battle was far from won. As Emily worked tirelessly, Jack and Alex didn't spare efforts to offer support. Jack, with his experience and contacts, secured additional donations of medications and equipment. He also brought extra volunteers to help. "We're here for you, Emily," said Jack, handing over a box of masks and gloves. "We'll get through this together." Alex, on the other hand, coordinated the logistical operations, ensuring supplies reached where they were most needed. "We need more space," he said, looking at the influx of patients. "I'll try to get a temporary building to accommodate the infected." The temporary building, a former school, was quickly adapted to serve as an isolation center. With the help of volunteers and the hospital team, the classrooms were transformed into makeshift wards. Emily ran between the clinic and the isolation center, monitoring the situation and adjusting plans as needed. During a visit to the isolation center, Emily found Dr. Miller arguing with one of the doctors. "This is unacceptable," he was saying, his voice loud and authoritative. "We need more coordination here." Emily intervened, the tension evident in her voice. "We're doing the best we can, Dr. Miller. The situation is under control." He looked at her, his eyes full of skepticism. "Your clinic might not be prepared for something of this magnitude, Emily. You need more structure." "I understand your concerns," Emily replied, maintaining her calm. "But this is our community. We know these people and know what they need. By working together, we can beat this." The tension between them was palpable, but Dr. Miller reluctantly agreed. "Let's make this work then, for everyone's sake." Back at the clinic, Emily found a moment of pause. Sitting in her office, she looked at the charts of the epidemic's progression, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Jack entered quietly, sitting beside her. "Emily, you're doing an incredible job," he said, his voice soft. "We're going to get through this." She looked at him, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "Sometimes I feel like I won't make it, but seeing the community come together gives me strength." Jack took her hand, a gesture of unwavering support. "You're not alone. We're all here for you." In the midst of the chaos, Alex entered, his face showing signs of fatigue, but also determination. "The temporary building is working well. We're managing to control the situation." Emily smiled, feeling a glimmer of hope. "That's great, Alex. Thank you for everything." The following days were intense, with the clinic and hospital teams working tirelessly to contain the epidemic. The collaboration and unity of the community began to show positive results, and the number of new cases started to decrease. The sun had barely risen when the clinic door was abruptly opened. A young man, carrying a child in his arms, ran in. The girl was pale and unresponsive. "Please, someone help me. My daughter is very sick," he shouted, his voice trembling with despair. Emily, still tired from the long night before, rushed to attend. "Bring her to the emergency room," she ordered, her voice firm despite the exhaustion. Examining the girl, she realized she was in critical condition. "She needs an immediate blood transfusion," said Emily, looking at the father, whose eyes were full of tears. "We'll do everything we can to save her." The clinic team mobilized quickly, but resources were limited. Emily felt the weight of responsibility as she prepared the girl for the transfusion. Every move was crucial. "Hold on, sweetheart," she murmured, trying to comfort the unconscious child. Meanwhile, in the back of her mind, she knew other patients also needed urgent attention. The waiting room was crowded, and every minute counted, possibly making the difference between life and death for someone. Emily looked around, seeing the team running back and forth, and felt a knot in her stomach. In the midst of the chaos, Dr. Miller entered the clinic, his expression hard and impenetrable. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, his voice loaded with authority. She turned to him, frustration evident in her eyes. "Not now, Dr. Miller. I'm in the middle of an emergency." He didn't back down. "We need to discuss the management of this clinic. You're overwhelmed, and it's affecting the efficiency of care." Emily felt the anger boiling. "We're doing the best we can with the resources we have. If you can't help, at least don't hinder." Dr. Miller approached, his voice low and threatening. "You're letting your emotions control your decisions. This is dangerous." She faced him, determined. "My emotions are what make me fight for these people. You wouldn't understand." The tension between them increased. Dr. Miller seemed about to say something else, but was interrupted by one of the clinic's doctors. "Dr. Carter, we need you in room 2. Now." Emily cast one last defiant look at Dr. Miller before rushing to attend another critical patient. Anger and frustration gave way to the urgent need to save lives. As the day progressed, Emily realized something was wrong. Small incidents began to occur. Medications were missing, equipment malfunctioned, and the clinic's organization seemed to be falling apart. She suspected Dr. Miller was behind it, trying to prove his point. In an emergency meeting with the team, Emily voiced her concerns. Someone is trying to sabotage our work. We need to stay alert and resolve this quickly. Robert, always faithful and observant, raised his hand. I saw Dr. Miller talking to some of the new volunteers. He seemed very interested in our procedures. Alex, who was beside Emily, became visibly irritated. This is unacceptable. We need to confront him. Jack, always the voice of reason, intervened. We need proof before accusing someone. Let's investigate discreetly. Emily agreed, but the feeling of betrayal was overwhelming. We need to protect our patients. That's the priority. During the night, while the clinic finally quieted down, Emily reviewed the medication and equipment records. She found discrepancies that confirmed her suspicions. Determined to resolve the situation, she called for a meeting with Dr. Miller the next morning. Dr. Miller, we need to talk about the recent incidents, she began, keeping calm. He looked at her, disinterested. If you're insinuating that I have something to do with this, you're mistaken. The facts say otherwise, Emily replied, showing the evidence. These actions put lives at risk. Dr. Miller sighed, crossing his arms. Maybe if you had more control over your team, this wouldn't happen. Before the discussion could escalate, the clinic team entered the room, led by Robert. Dr. Emily has our full support. We know she's doing her best for all of us, said Robert, his voice firm. The presence of the united team beside Emily made it clear to Dr. Miller that his tactics would not be tolerated. This is a battle you won't win, Dr. Miller. We're here to care for people, not for power games, said Jack, his voice full of conviction. Dr. Miller, seeing he was at a disadvantage, left the room without saying another word. Emily took a deep breath, relieved, but knew the fight was far from over. With the crisis controlled but still feeling the impact of recent events, Emily found herself at a dilemma. Dr. Miller was right about one thing. The clinic needed more structure and resources, and the hospital could provide that. But that meant returning to work under Miller's shadow. Emily retreated to her small office, feeling torn. Alex entered quietly, sitting beside her. What's bothering you? He asked, his voice soft. I'm thinking if I should go back to the hospital, Emily admitted, her eyes fixed on the floor. They can offer more resources, but I don't know if I can deal with Dr. Miller again. Alex took her hand, the connection between them clear and comforting. You don't have to do this alone, Emily. We're all here to support you, whatever your decision. She looked at him, her eyes shining with gratitude. Thank you, Alex. Your presence makes all the difference. Jack entered shortly after, bringing coffee for both. Whatever you decide, we're with you. But remember, this clinic is your vision. Don't let anyone take that from you. Emily felt a wave of determination. You're right. Let's keep fighting for what we believe in. We won't give up. The next morning, Emily gathered the entire team. We've faced many challenges, but we're here for a reason. To help our community. And we'll keep doing that, no matter the difficulties. The team applauded, their energy renewed. We need more organization and efficiency, she continued. But we'll get there. Robert, always the loyal defender, stood up. We're with you, Emily. We'll face anything together. It was a quiet night, with the moon gently illuminating the community clinic. Emily was sitting in her small office, lost in thought as she flipped through documents. The lights were low, creating a calm environment, but her heart was restless. Jack and Alex entered quietly, bringing coffee and cookies. Emily, we need to talk, said Jack, sitting in front of her. Alex settled beside her, a worried look on his face. Emily sighed, feeling the weight of her responsibilities. I know, we're doing everything we can, but sometimes it feels like it's never enough. Jack smiled, placing his hand over hers. You've done an incredible job, Emily. Everyone here admires and respects you. But we need to think about the clinic's future and your well-being. Alex nodded, his voice soft but firm. We're all here for a reason. We want to help people, but we also need to take care of ourselves. You need to rest, Emily. And you need to believe that you're not alone in this fight. Emily looked at both of them, feeling a wave of gratitude and relief. Thank you, both of you. I don't know what I would do without you. Jack took her other hand, gently squeezing it. We'll keep fighting together. And you'll do great, Emily. Believe in that." The next day, Emily made a decision. She gathered the entire team in the improvised meeting room, a cozy space with plastic chairs and a large table in the center. Everyone was present, from doctors and nurses to volunteers and recovered patients now helping at the clinic. "I have something important to share with you," she began, her voice firm but filled with emotion. "After much reflection, I've decided to resign from the hospital. I'll focus entirely on our community clinic." A murmur of surprise spread through the room, followed by applause and words of encouragement. Robert, always the first to support, stood up. "That's the best decision, Emily. We're with you, no matter what happens." Carla, the young mother who had found shelter at the clinic, smiled emotionally. "You saved my life and my baby's life. We know this clinic can change many lives, just as it changed mine." Emily felt the tears welling up but maintained her composure. "Thank you, all of you. Together, we can turn this clinic into a beacon of hope for our community." With the decision made, Emily and her team launched a major fundraising campaign. They planned an event in the city's central square, decorated with colorful lights and tents filled with food and drinks. There was a palpable energy in the air, a sense of unity and purpose. Alex, always the strategist, handled the logistical details. "We have volunteers at each tent, and donations can be made in cash or online. We'll also be live streaming on social media to reach more people." Jack, with his natural charm, was on the main stage, energizing the crowd. "Good evening, friends. We're here to support our community clinic and ensure it continues to grow and help those in need." Emily, dressed in a simple blouse and jeans, was in the middle of the crowd, greeting and talking to everyone. She felt energized by the positive response from the community. "Thank you for being here," she said repeatedly, feeling grateful for every smiling face she encountered. The night was a resounding success. The fundraising exceeded all expectations, and the community support was overwhelming. Emily felt a wave of relief and happiness seeing so many people united for a common cause. "We did it!" exclaimed Alex, hugging Emily tightly. "This is just the beginning." Emily smiled, feeling more hopeful than ever. "We're just getting started, Alex. We'll keep growing and helping more people." In the days following the event, the clinic was busier than ever. Emily and her team worked tirelessly to implement new programs and improve existing services. The atmosphere was one of enthusiasm and determination. During a lunch break, Emily and Alex met in the clinic's small cafeteria. "You look radiant," commented Alex, handing her a cup of tea. "Seeing you so excited is contagious." Emily laughed, feeling relaxed in his presence. "All of this has given me a new energy. And you've been amazing, Alex. I don't know what I would do without you." Alex looked deeply into her eyes, his expression serious but full of tenderness. "You don't have to do anything without me, Emily. We're in this together, remember?" She felt her heart race, but also a sense of peace. Yes, together. Meanwhile, Jack was in his office, working on new expansion plans for the clinic. Robert entered, bringing a stack of documents. "Jack, I think we're going to need more volunteers if we keep growing at this pace." Jack nodded, looking at his friend with gratitude. "We'll manage, Robert. We have an incredible team and an exceptional leader. Nothing can stop us." The clinic continued to thrive, and Emily, Jack, and Alex began planning for the future. Gathered in the meeting room, they discussed new ideas and strategies. "We need more prevention programs," suggested Emily. "Educating the community about health is just as important as treating them." Alex agreed, making notes. "We can organize workshops and lectures. And we also need more psychological support for our patients." Jack, always thinking ahead, added, "And we should consider expanding to other areas of the city. Many people still don't have access to our services." Emily looked at both of them, feeling inspired. "Let's do it. Let's take our clinic wherever it's needed. Together, we can achieve anything." The meeting ended with a sense of renewed determination. Emily knew there were still many challenges ahead, but with the strength of her team and the support of the community, she felt ready to face them. That night, as she closed the clinic, Emily stepped outside and looked at the stars. She felt a wave of hope and gratitude. The community clinic was not just a place of healing but a symbol of unity and compassion. And with Jack and Alex by her side, she knew the future was bright. "We'll keep going," she murmured to herself, a smile lighting up her face. "We'll change lives and build a better world, one day at a time." The morning was sunny and vibrant with expectation. The city's central square was decorated with colorful banners and balloons, and a stage was set up for a special ceremony. Emily, dressed in an elegant blue dress, was backstage, adjusting the final details in her mind. Beside her, Jack and Alex were beaming with pride. "Are you ready for this?" asked Jack, holding her hand with an encouraging smile. Emily took a deep breath, feeling a mix of nervousness and excitement. "I think so. This is surreal." Alex placed a hand on her shoulder. "You deserve every moment, Emily. This is a celebration of your hard work and dedication." The ceremony began with speeches from local authorities, highlighting the importance of the community clinic and its positive impact on people's lives. The mayor took the stage, a middle-aged man with a warm smile. "Today, we are here to honor a true heroine in our community. Dr. Emily Carter, please come up to the stage." The applause was deafening as Emily walked to the microphone. She looked at the crowd, seeing familiar faces and friends who had supported her from the beginning. "Thank you," she began, her voice trembling with emotion. "This recognition is not just for me. It's for everyone who believed in this dream and worked tirelessly to make it a reality." She paused, her eyes shining with tears of gratitude. "This clinic is proof that when we come together, we can transform lives. Thank you all for being part of this journey." The applause echoed through the square as Emily received a plaque of recognition. The emotion of the moment was overwhelming, and she knew it was a significant milestone for the clinic and the entire community. However, the joy of the day was interrupted when Dr. Miller, visibly upset, appeared backstage. "Emily, we need to talk," he said, his voice tense. Emily, still holding the plaque, turned to him, surprised. "Dr. Miller, now is not a good time." He was undeterred. "Do you think a prize will solve all the problems? Your clinic is still far from perfect, and there are many things you're not seeing." Emily's patience was wearing thin. "Dr. Miller, this clinic has helped thousands of people. We've made mistakes, yes, but we're learning and improving every day." He shook his head, his eyes cold. "You're blinded by success. If you continue like this, you will end up failing." Before the argument could escalate, Jack and Alex intervened. "Dr. Miller, that's enough," said Jack, his voice firm. "Today is a day of celebration, not conflict." Dr. Miller looked at them, the anger clear on his face, but decided to retreat. "We'll see how long this enthusiasm lasts," he murmured before leaving. Emily felt a wave of frustration and sadness, but Jack and Alex were there to support her. "Don't let him ruin this, Emily," said Alex softly. "You're making a difference, and that's what matters." A few days after the ceremony, Jack gathered Emily and Alex in his office. There was a serious expression on his face that aroused their curiosity. "I have something important to tell you," he began, his voice calm but firm. Emily and Alex exchanged worried glances. "What's happening, Jack?" asked Emily. He took a deep breath, seeming to choose his words carefully. "I have a medical condition. I was recently diagnosed with a degenerative disease. I'll need intensive treatment and won't be able to be as present at the clinic as before." The news hit like a bombshell. Emily felt her heart tighten, her breath becoming difficult. "Jack, I'm so sorry," she said, holding his hand. "We'll be here for you, just as you've always been for us." Alex, clearly shaken, placed his hand on Jack's shoulder. "We'll take care of everything here. You need to focus on your health now." Jack nodded, a weak smile on his lips. "Thank you. I know you'll continue doing an amazing job, and I'll always be cheering for you, even from afar." The news of Jack brought a new wave of emotional challenges for Emily and Alex, but it also strengthened their determination to continue the legacy Jack helped build. With Jack temporarily out, Emily and Alex needed to reorganize the clinic structure. They held meetings with the team to discuss the transition and ensure everyone was aligned with the new responsibilities. "We need to make sure everything keeps running smoothly," said Emily during a meeting. Each one of you is crucial to the clinic's success. I'm counting on everyone to give their best. Robert, always the pillar of support, raised his hand. We're with you, Emily. We'll keep working hard to keep the clinic running perfectly. Carla, now an active volunteer, added. We'll do this for Jack. He always believed in us, and now it's our turn to give back. The team was motivated and united, ready to face any challenge. Emily felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. She knew that, with everyone's support, they could keep moving forward and make a difference in people's lives. Shortly after, Dr. Miller sought out Emily again, but this time with a different expression. Emily, can we talk? He asked, his voice softer. Emily nodded, curious. Of course, Dr. Miller. What do you want to discuss? He sighed, looking genuinely remorseful. I've been very hard on you. I've seen the clinic's impact on the community, and despite my reservations, I can't deny that you're doing an excellent job. Emily was surprised but felt a glimmer of hope. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Your opinion matters to us. He smiled slightly. I'd like to offer my support, constructively. I know my experience can be useful. Can we start over? Emily extended her hand, a sincere smile on her face. Of course, Dr. Miller. Let's work together for the community's sake. The reconciliation with Dr. Miller brought new energy to the clinic. With his support, Jack's experience, and the leadership of Emily and Alex, the clinic was stronger than ever. Challenges still existed, but the team's unity and determination ensured they could overcome them. It was a gray, rainy morning when Jack asked to gather the entire clinic team in a meeting room. The air was thick with anticipation, and Emily, Alex, and the other team members sat around the table, exchanging curious and worried glances. Jack entered, leaning on a cane, his expression serious but calm. He looked more fragile than usual, but there was an unshakable determination in his eyes. Thank you for coming, he began, his voice firm but soft. I have something very important to share with all of you. Emily felt a knot in her stomach. Jack, what's going on? Jack took a deep breath, seeming to gather strength to continue. There's something I haven't told you. The truth is, I'm more than a philanthropist. I'm actually a renowned doctor who disguised myself to better understand the realities of healthcare for the needy. The room fell silent, everyone absorbing the bombshell revelation. Emily was speechless, her heart racing. You're a doctor? She asked, incredulous. Jack nodded. Yes. I've worked in various hospitals and clinics around the world, but I decided that the only way to truly understand and help was by putting myself in the shoes of those who suffer. That's why I lived as an ordinary person, away from all privileges. Alex looked at his father, his eyes full of admiration and confusion. Why didn't you ever tell us? Jack smiled, sad but determined. I wanted everything we built here to be genuine, based on compassion and real effort, not on my name or reputation. And, Emily, you've proven that you're the leader this clinic needs, that this project is bigger than any of us. Jack continued to explain, his voice gaining strength as he talked about his true goal. The clinic was a fundamental part of a reform project I was envisioning. I wanted to create a model that could be replicated in other needy areas, showing that it's possible to offer quality care regardless of limited resources. Emily felt a wave of emotions, surprise, admiration, and a renewed sense of purpose. So, all this time, you were testing us? Preparing us for something bigger? Jack nodded. Yes, and you exceeded all my expectations. I'm extremely proud of what we've built together. Carla, visibly moved, asked, Does this mean the clinic will continue to grow? That more people will be helped? Jack smiled, a hopeful glimmer in his eyes. Yes, Carla. With the right structure and support, we can expand our operations and help even more communities. And I want all of you to be part of it. At that moment, Jack took an envelope from his pocket and handed it to Emily. This is an acceptance letter for a major recognition award for your work, Emily. You deserve to be recognized for everything you've done here. Emily opened the envelope with trembling hands and read aloud. In recognition of the extraordinary work of Dr. Emily Carter and her team at the community clinic, we are pleased to award you the International Humanitarian Prize. The words seemed surreal, and tears filled her eyes. Jack, I don't know what to say. Jack held her hands, his eyes full of pride. You don't need to say anything, Emily. Your work speaks for itself. And this is just the beginning of something even greater. However, the joy of the moment was overshadowed by the reality of Jack's illness. In the following weeks, as news of the award and Jack's true identity spread, Emily and Alex dedicated themselves to caring for him, ensuring he received the best possible treatment. One afternoon, while Emily was sitting beside Jack at his home, he looked at her with a weak smile. Emily, I know this journey hasn't been easy, but you have incredible strength. I want you to know that I fully trust you to continue the work we started. Emily squeezed his hand, tears streaming down her face. I promise, Jack. I won't let you down. We'll keep growing and helping more people, always. Alex, who had been silently observing, approached and placed a hand on his father's shoulder. We'll do this together, Dad. We're all here for you. Jack nodded, a look of satisfaction in his eyes. I'm sure you will. You're an amazing team. Eventually, Jack's health deteriorated, and he passed away surrounded by the love and support of Emily, Alex, and the entire clinic team. His loss was deeply felt, but his legacy continued to inspire everyone. At Jack's memorial ceremony, held in the square where so many celebrations had taken place, Emily took the stage to speak. Jack Thompson was more than a mentor and a friend. He was the driving force behind our dream, and we will honor his memory by continuing his work, expanding our clinic, and helping all those in need. The crowd applauded, and Emily felt a wave of determination and hope. Beside her, Alex looked confidently to the future. We'll keep growing, Emily. We'll do it for Jack. In the months that followed, the community clinic flourished, expanding its services and reaching new areas. Jack's vision became a reality, and his spirit lived on in every act of compassion and care. Emily, with the unwavering support of Alex and the team, led the clinic with passion and dedication, knowing she was honoring Jack's legacy. And as she looked at the stars one night, she felt a deep peace and the certainty that they were building a bright future for everyone. We'll keep going, she murmured to herself, a serene smile on her face. We'll change lives and create a better world, one day at a time. We hope you were moved and inspired by our story. We want to hear your opinion. Leave a comment below, share your impressions, and your own stories of resilience and hope. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next videos full of emotion. Join us on this journey and follow more amazing stories. See you next time.